Hello, how are you? Again, this is Laura Khoury, and I'm talking with Allison Olson today. We are both adoptive parents, and Allison, of course, is also an adoptee. And today we're talking about parenting. We're talking about Allison, who is parenting one biological child and also an adoptive child, and just kind of how that's going and some of your thoughts behind it.
Sure. So I would say in general, about 80% of the time, it's just like normal parenting, right? You're just raising two kids and that's just how it feels most of the time. But obviously adoption is a big part of our family. So you know me very well. But for folks that don't know, as you said, I am adopted. My husband was also adopted by his father. So his mom was a single mom when his father met her, and then he later adopted him. So adoption is a big part of our family. And so in our case, it's a little bit different. I have to worry about my biological child's feelings because she'll say, I'm the only one not adopted, right?
I was just thinking that. I bet
Yeah,
it comes up in that way. Yeah.
yeah. And I always talk about how special and unique it is to be adopted and all that stuff. So I have to try to taper that down. I have to kind of know my audience there, and then being prepared for as my youngest who's adopted, as she grows up, all of the ever-changing questions, right? So as folks that tune into this know, Laura and I both wrote children's books on adoption, and some people will pick up, like they'll pick up my book and they'll feel like it's very positive. And the reason that it's positive is that it's for a very, very young child, and it's trying to give them a good solid foundation of love and acceptance and understanding of what open adoption specifically is. But as a child grows, they have more and more questions, and they're different. So that story then can evolve, when I'm talking with her about, again, honesty about her story. And the best part about an open relationship is if she's got questions, we could just call up her birth mom, right? If she feels comfortable asking those questions directly to her. But that is the channel and the direct line that I didn't necessarily have, right? So things that I hope that she experiences that I don't, in closed adoptions, you can over fantasize about a parent, right? Because you've never seen them, you never seen a picture, don't know their name. And I hope that there will be some of that, right? There will likely be teenage years, I'm going to go live with my other mom kind of a thing, right? And I'm prepared and ready for that. As much as I can be.
Mhm.
But so I think some of that is a little bit different, but I do need to balance between the two of them, right? So because I wrote a book around children's adoption, that means I wrote a book about one of my children, right? And not the other one. And I did not even put, so first of all, the book is a general book, but the illustrator definitely made the characters look like us. So then that's another problem, because then my oldest is not in the book. And so I've already talked with her that we're going to be writing a specific book for her in the future, so that then she can feel that same love. So I think it's, but that's also common when you have multiple kids, right? You want them all to feel loved in their own unique way. And you might have different special things in common with each of them separately, right? And so that's, I would say, the bigger thing. But my oldest feels special to be able to like point to the library, because I donated one to her school library, and I also donated the plushie there too. So the kids are always like, I saw the owl. And so that's special to her. I'm going to go and read to her classroom again, even though the book isn't dedicated to her, even though there's not a specific character for her. I'm going to try to do those things. So I think that that's key. I think I'll go with some basic ones too. Don't refer to your children, which everyone knows now, like the positive, you can Google positive adoption language and it changes all the time, just as everything does, with, making sure that we are as politically correct as possible with our speech and terminology as to not offend anyone. But I would never say, oh, here's my biological child and here's my adopted child, right?
Yeah,
We know that, but I also, just to give a quick story about my own experience, my cousin, who I was close with in Chicago, introduced me as an adult in my early to mid 20s at her party. This is my adopted cousin. So people don't know to not say that. And to be honest, it took me back because my parents did such a good job with talking about normalizing adoption. I had actually never had anyone until my mid 20s, announce me as being adopted. And just for folks that are listening to this that don't kind of understand how that would feel, you put yourself in the shoes. If you put any qualifier in front of a family relationship, it sounds like they're less than. Half sister, a stepsister, etc. Just maybe try sister. It's just thoughts. You just try to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And it depends on what you're saying, right? And what you're doing. But in adoption, it wouldn't even need to be written on a legal paper, right? Whereas like if you're saying I give this land to my stepsister, such as that would have to like legally probably be written like that. But you wouldn't have to even write that for adopted because they truly are just your
legal.
sister. You know what I'm saying? So so that's a big thing where I wouldn't talk about that. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting as they continue to get older. When we talk to her birth mom, so we had a video chat this past weekend. We all call her Mama and then her first name. So I don't know if my oldest is going to feel jealous that she doesn't have two moms. So these are things that I'm kind of prepared that we might need to focus on in the future. But again, we're so adoption heavy in our family that I worry more about my biological child. But then you never know as they grow up, right? Because now my youngest looks like an adorable toddler, right? The baby toddler look. We might get things where it's like, oh, they look so different, or, well, of course, because your oldest looks like your husband, which she does. And I don't want my youngest to feel any less than that she doesn't have someone she can point to that looks like her. So these are things that are always in the back of my mind that are concerning. And then also my youngest, she has two brothers, right? Two birth brothers. And we try to have a relationship with them. Obviously they're very young as well, but they're also very aware of the situation. And so I've talked with my oldest of, well, if you want to feel like they're your brothers too, you can as well, and so there's some of that where it depends on which side you're sitting on, how you might feel. You might feel jealous that the other one has two moms and, and additional brothers, which we don't have in our family of girls. And so it just depends. And then the other side, it might be like, oh, well, because both of my daughters are daddy's girls. We've talked about this. They're both major daddy's girls. And it could become, why don't I look like daddy? I love daddy just as much as older sister does. Why don't I look like him? So I am trying to be as prepared as possible. You never can be, but I think as long as I'm honest, open, and we are always, very loving when we talk about her birth family, when we are with them, like they're, that relationship's very important to us. So hopefully that can help. And I know some of my own struggles, but I'm only one adoptee perspective. So as she starts to grow up, I probably will continue to listen to all adoptee voices, just to make sure that that I'm as prepared as I can be to help her out with all of this.
Yeah. And you will be. I mean, because her adoptee voice will be the one that is the most important. And hopefully you'll just have a good sense of what that, perspective is. You will. You just
Good.
have to evolve right there with it. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. All right. Well, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. And we will talk again soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.